Welcome to the Rebuilt Man podcast. I am your host and founder, Coach Frank Rich, here today. And if you're new with us, guys, this show exists to help men just like you, those caught up in the depths of pornography addiction, take back control. And we've successfully helped over 1,800 men in the last 6 years break free from their pornography addiction, but more importantly, rebuild their lives, reconnect with their wives, rebuild intimacy, rewire their brains. In today's episode, we have a special clip from a recent conversation I had with clinical hypnotherapist Nelson Whiting on the Superhuman Life podcast. If you want to check out the full conversation, we'll have it linked down in the show notes for you. But this clip specifically, we're talking about what happens after you quit porn. You see, most recovery programs focus only on helping men stop watching porn, but very few actually teach them how to stay free. If you're watching this, you've probably quit porn dozens, hundreds of times before in the past, but why do we always seem to go back? And it's because we're not managing the triggers and the reasons that we use porn in the first place. So both Nelson and I share some of our thoughts and insights, how we both help men in unique, specific ways. But if you enjoy this episode after listening and you're looking for a place in the community to find freedom, I want to extend an invitation here to you to join us inside the school community. Guys, we built the #1 community in the world to help men not just quit porn, but rebuild their lives, become a rebuilt man. You can find this community for free if you visit school.com, SKOOL.com/rebuild your life, or click the link down in the show notes below. But as I shared, guys, this is a special episode here because we are sharing a short clip from an incredible conversation, an hour-long discussion on rebuilding your life, on becoming a porn-free man. So enjoy today's episode. Enjoy this clip. If you want to hear the full conversation, we have a link down in the show notes for you below. But let's get into it here today, guys. You said something here, and I think it aligns a lot with what we've talked about there as well, is the porn is usually not a problem. The porn at some point became a solution to the other problem. So in these sessions, obviously, you help these guys rewrite and unpack years of programming, and you said they were free after one session, but I'm sure there's got to now be some work that's done, and these problems are still going to show up, right? If you're using it in times of financial pressure, stress, loneliness, isolation, like living out in the world, those things are still going to be there. So after this reprogramming sessions that you go through, what does it look like in terms of how do we now manage these problems that porn was being the solution for us in the first place?
Right. So one of the things that we've learned in all the hypnotherapy is that it's not hard to fix a porn problem, and it's also not hard to keep it gone permanently if that person's identity has shifted hard enough, shifted strong enough, and they know where to place their attention now, right? I mean, it's all about wherever you place your attention is going to grow, right? Where you focus determines your reality, as I think it was Qui-Gon Jinn on Star Wars said, or something like that. So what we do is, people will say affirmations, for example. Super easy. 30 seconds, 3 times a day. Hey, I'm clean. I'm worthy. I'm disciplined. I'm Christ-like. I'm on track. I have better things to do with my life. And that's nice. Affirmations have never really been proven to fix anything. They're really good for reinforcement, though. And the first law of psychology is you get more of what you reinforce. So we teach people how to do affirmations, and that 30 seconds, 3 times a day is all they really have to do as a practice in watchfulness and vigilance to keep the work permanent if we did the work properly. So there's affirmations as a daily practice, and then there's one technique that we teach them when they are in the moment, again, being tempted. Because like you said, we may have fixed this one area where they were tempted, but you don't know what you don't know. Meaning you don't know what else is going to come up in your life. Next thing you know, somebody's come out with, hey, there's a thing called AI porn now. So, well, what's that all about? I mean, new level of curiosity comes out, right? Or maybe you have a kid and now you're sleep deprived all night and you've never been thinking on that level before, where now you're tempted just because Satan likes to pile it all up on top of us in our weakest moments, right? From every angle that he can. Or you get a new job, or you lose a job, or something like that. Or you go on an extended vacation, you're just so off schedule for so long. All of these life events are things that we do our best to test for while we're in session. In that very first session, we'll test for all kinds of scenarios. What if you were in Las Vegas all by yourself, on a business trip, and there's all the strip clubs sitting out there and unlimited cable in your room. And what are you going to do for a week? Are you going to look at porn and masturbate? Well, we have to address whatever it is that comes up that would give them the reason to go and do that. So we do that as much as we can in session. But like you say, life happens. And one of the things that I like to make sure that people know going into it is that we're not seeking perfection in the sense of flawlessness. Perfection, in my opinion and my understanding of how Christ described it when he says, be ye perfect as I am, or as your Father in heaven is perfect, is, in the Greek, it means complete, but a clear way of understanding it is that to be perfect means that you're repenting. It means that you're making progress, and that's success. It doesn't mean that you're not failing. It doesn't mean that you're not sinning. You're not making mistakes. And because of that, you can start to develop a growth mindset around whatever's happening, any of your setbacks. So when somebody, let's say they start here, at this low level when they come in, and we get them to go up, in a graph of progress, they're going to hit a point where they feel really, really good. But it's like a plateau, almost like a honeymoon period. You've probably seen this a lot. And they're like, hey, I got this. And a month or 2 or 3 goes by, or a year goes by. And one of 2 things happens when they're in that honeymoon period. Either they get cocky. They think that they've got it in the bag, and they stop their practices in watchfulness and vigilance and making progress in their life. And they think that they can just stagnate and they're going to keep the problem gone. But you're either growing or you're dying, right? So at that point, they either get cocky, or the Lord takes a hard look at them and says, hey, it's time to level Frank up. And in order to level him up, the only way I can change him is to challenge him. And in the scriptures, the word challenge is temptation. And the word temptation really just means to put pressure on somebody, right? Pressure, it's like the way you test metals. You throw it in the fire and you're testing it. You're not trying to break it and destroy it. You're trying to see where its weaknesses are so that you can rebuild it back up. And the pressure and the stress and the challenging that comes from what the Lord is allowing you to undergo, that's perfectly tailored to your limitations, says, all right, we're going to take Frank and we're going to dip him in the fire here for a second and see what happens. We're not doing this to break him. We're not doing this to prove to himself that he's not good enough. We're just seeing if he will step into the tools that he knows, live up to the light that he has, dig into that knowledge, and be resilient. And whatever it is that he doesn't know, he's going to find out when he gets into another little trough here in this, progression cycle moving upwards. And so progression is not this linear, concrete sequential steps that are just moving up to God's throne. You move up, you always hit a honeymoon and a plateau, and then you dip a little bit. And it's the dip where everyone's like, oh no, I'm just fundamentally flawed. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve good things. And they can either go there, or you can prime them to no, you have the tools. There's some resilience here. And then we teach them a little 5 or 10 second technique on how to get out of temptation, how to make sure they're not going back into binges. And then once we've removed the emotional charge, see, if somebody moves into that trough and they screw up again, it's the last thing that they wanted to do. But if you've already addressed shame and guilt, for example, if they sin, they go look at porn again and they can't go into shame and guilt again. Well, what the heck kind of feeling are they supposed to feel now? Right? I mean, what are they supposed to feel? Like in their mind, they're like, well, what am I supposed to do if I'm not going to go into negative emotions about what I just did? And the answer is you go into problem solving, right? Because now they're objective about the situation. They're dissociated from the problem emotionally. So they can actually critically analyze, well, what am I supposed to do now to move the needle forward and get my life back on track? How did that happen? What were the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual things that led up to this? Oh, maybe I was overwhelmed at work, overwhelmed at relationships. Okay, let's go solve that. Or maybe I'm just really tired. Maybe all I just really needed was a nap. Seriously, that's all I needed. So they start problem solving, and that's the point being down here, right? Is learning. I think that's what repentance is just learning.
Yeah. We've always tried to help guys, look at a slip, a failure, setback. We would call it a wrongful choice, because I think slip and relapse, it just has so much negative behavior context attached to it. But it's like, hey, it doesn't mean that all your failure, it doesn't mean that all your success has been erased. Like you said, there's a problem in our approach, something that was incorrectly handled or managed go into, like you said, go into problem solving mode. Another thing that we constantly say here and we try to remind our guys of is freedom is never an end state. Like you don't reach this point where like you are just living in freedom. It is a continuous pursuit that we are constantly on. And I think that's where that progressive model that you were kind of speaking to. So there you had it, guys. The importance of not just quitting porn, but rebuilding your life, understanding how to manage, regulate your stressors and the triggers that are driving you back to pornography. Hope you got value out of today's episode. If you did, make sure to comment down below. Let us know your biggest takeaway. And as we shared in the beginning, if you're looking for a place, if you're looking for a structured process, but more importantly, a community of men that are all committed to creating freedom in their lives and want to support you in that journey, I want to extend an invitation to join us inside the Skool community. Skool, SKOOL.com/reboot your life, to get plugged into the #1 community for men looking to walk in freedom from pornography. You can join us for free today. Link is down in the show notes below. But we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you got value. If you want to listen to the full episode, that link is also down in the show notes. And guys, we'll see you in the next one.